ultimate fishing authority in the Northeast, the Fisherman magazine.
No guessing, just catching. New Explore Series fish finders keep you locked on fish with unbeatable clarity, best-in-class imaging options, and a stunning ultra-bright HD screen. There's more to explore, only with Humminbird.
Quite the storm we had this week, pretty significant nor'easter. By all accounts, could have been really, really bad. Going back, looking at similar storms over the years, a system like this could have really hunkered down off of our beaches, pounded us for days on end with significant back bay flooding, property loss, perhaps boats as well. That said, after waking up a few mornings this week, I checked the boat at high tide in the back, 3:30 to 5:30 in the morning. Tuesday morning was pretty nice, exceptionally pleasant to awaken to relative quiet. And those nor'east winds finally laying down a bit, that system sliding on out. It's the middle of the week. I'm Jim Hutchinson with the New Jersey Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine. You can see that earth mover in the along the beaches there, doing a little bit of work. While personal property damage could have been much, much worse, those beaches certainly got hit hard. I'm here in Bayhead, my home stretch, and if you know this stretch after the beach replenishment, I'm standing right along the edge where you see the dunes, that dune fence. This is where the dunes had been grown back to over the last several months. She took it back. So a little bit of work here in Northern Ocean County continues. But I'll tell you what, that beach replenishment is just like throwing sand in the wind. Now, I could stand here along the beaches of Bayhead and complain about another $1 million worth of replenishment work all gone to waste while fighting Mother Nature here. But instead, I'm going to look at the glass as half full as I do a little bit of surveying here. Years ago, this was a really particularly good stretch because it was a little bit deeper. Then beach replenishment came, and it was more shallow going out, very similar to the South Jersey beaches, that gradual slope. But again, the structure here has already been set up, in my view, for the fall run. And I mean, this nor'easter was intense over a couple of days, and I think we're kind of back to normal, relative normal, as it were. That indeed, it's going to come in handy this week. As winds are expected to turn out of the west again. We've had northeast all this week. I'm up here on the beaches Wednesday afternoon doing this week's video fishing forecast. A little bit of a west wind today. It's not flattened out yet, but we're expecting light seas, west winds in the forecast at some point on Saturday. Light seas for sure on Saturday. The wind forecast has been fluctuating a little bit. It's going to blow offshore at some point. I don't know if we're going to start Saturday morning offshore. Could it be Friday night into Saturday or sometime Saturday afternoon? I've been offering somewhat, well, I'll call it a mealy mouth predictions based on the west winds and a push of fish coming in over the last several weeks, kind of saying, maybe, possibly, I don't know. But of course, you know, I'm a Phillies fan. I'm an Eagles fan. So my predictions really don't mean much at all, right? But Saturday turns very, very good. In my opinion, my forecast for striper anglers at the Jersey Shore, especially northern Jersey, those fish are sliding over from the east, coming towards the west. A lot of them a little bit closer to the south shore of Long Island. So typically Monmouth County, Northern Ocean County gets those fish first, but it could materialize into something remarkable at some point very soon, perhaps Saturday, anywhere from Island Beach up to Sandy Hook. And you folks in Atlantic County and Cape May County, there's some fish to be had, that's for sure. In fact, on Tuesday, right after the blow, Mike, he got himself a slot. He was fishing somewhere in Cape May County, salted clams, checked in his fish on Tuesday at Jim's Bait and Tackle in Cape May. So yeah, there's some fish up and down the beaches, and of course in the back, and all that bait that's stacked up and has been moving around and got pinned in there with that northeast storm. The rest of the week could be very good if you've got your boat in center console working some of those sod banks anywhere from Barnegat Bay all the way down, maybe even the Navesink, but all the way down into Cape May County. Right before the nor'easter struck, I received some interesting news in our weekly reports. I got them Sunday morning, but I saw the post from Phil and the boys at the tackle box. But if you look at this week's digital weekly edition for New Jersey, Delaware Bay, it was posted on Monday. That's 3-year-old Hudson Hess showing off a summer lunker from South Jersey. He beat out his mom and his dad for Fish of the Day honors. But the headlines really tell the story. Quote, First blitzes at the Hook, Sandy Hook, of course, the place. That's from Nick Konachevsky's weekly surf report, the Beach Talk report. Phil at the tackle box in Hazlitt said right before the nor'easter on Friday, some 20 to 30 pound stripers were quote unquote blitzing at Sandy Hook. They were caught on poppers and plugs, some big back bay bass as well, caught along some of the bayshore waters of the Raritan Bay. This image from Johnny Calamari there at the tackle box from this past Friday, pre-storm. So, I don't know, maybe my rather tepid forecast for last week was a little bit more accurate than I thought. That said, pencils, poppers, swim shads, spooks, gliders, don't forget those Hopkins shorties. I mentioned the metal lips, you're gonna need them too, but make sure you have them at the ready when it's time to ramble on along these Jersey Shore beaches. The message I received from one reader named Kevin, protecting the last name and adding a little digital Sharpie around the background to protect the location and protect the innocent. He said, they're here. He tells me fish from the Amboys up to Keensburg. Hopefully it kicks off soon, he said. I do love those digital Sharpies. Oh, I've got some digital Sharpie stuff, by the way, in just a few minutes. 9 minutes away, to be exact. But with striped bass action set to explode here along the Jersey Shore as we head into the rest of October, into November, Jenni Ackerman stopped by Gabriel Tackle. She was talking to Frank there at the shop for some professional and personal advice, some recommendations, his thoughts on the upcoming striped bass debate, but also some advice on go-to lures to consider when it's time for those first alarm striped bass.
Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Open Boat. I'm your host, Jenni Ackerman, here with Frank of Gabriel Tackle Co. in Brick, New Jersey. He was so kind enough to allow me to come into his shop and do a seminar on first alarm stripers. Now it is October, so we're kind of getting into the swing of things of seeing some stripers caught off the surf at night. But Frank is going to give you a little rundown specifically on the whole striped bass, status quo, voice your opinion type gig, and talk more about some hot lures that you would use to get into the fall run season. So, Frank?
Well, first of all, I'm going to start off, I guess, with the whole political part of this, with the striper closure, possibly. Hopefully it's not going to happen. If it does, it's going to devastate the industry a lot, all the way around, not just the tackle shops. It's going to hurt the manufacturers, distributors, everybody's going to get hit with this. The other issue, too, is I don't understand is why don't they close down commercial fishing? I'm just so worried about the striped bass population. Why? I think it's 9 states, if I'm correct, that's still open with it. It doesn't make any sense. I would shut that first. The other thing they need to take care of is get their signs straightened out.
Yes.
They have admitted to 35 to 40% off in many meetings, right in the public. So that's another thing that needs to be addressed. The other thing is the bunker. Mm-hmm. The bunker boats, the bunker population being decimated in this area. And that's causing a big problem. So until they address that and go after that stuff, I can't see them even trying to tell us we need a closure, especially with the population being so enriched as it is, it's been in the last 3-4 years. I've been fishing some 17 years old, I'm 54. I'm an old man.
No.
So I never seen striped bass as prevalent as we have now. So it doesn't make any sense in what they're saying or where they're getting their numbers from. Fish do migrate, fish do move. Let's face it, they didn't even know stripers went offshore, or they didn't believe the offshore captains when they were telling them they were catching stripers 60 miles offshore until the tags were put on by Ray Research and the Fisherman.
Yes.
So that proved a lot right there. Now, why isn't the states doing that research? Why is a private company and a magazine doing that? So it's kind of pathetic what's going on. It needs to be fixed. Everybody needs to voice their opinion. Otherwise, we're not going to have a fishery.
Yes.
And it continues to go on with the sea bass. They closed Fluke down on us on Thursday. Why didn't they do it on a Sunday?
Yeah.
Then open sea bass up on a Monday. Mm-hmm. That would have made sense, but we don't do that. So
the biggest thing I guess you can say from every level of the fishery, from just your average surf caster that works the 9 to 5 to your tackle shop owner, the biggest thing you can do is voicing your opinion. That's the one thing that if you want something done, do it yourself by voicing your opinion. It's bad news bears when the thought of closure, people can't fish, tackle shops can't survive, they can't feed their families. Same thing with fishermen who still keep their slot stripers. it's a scary world we're living in with this. And the biggest thing, I always say, be the change you want to see. So the biggest thing with this striped bass situation is voicing your opinion.
That is correct. You gotta get out there and open your mouths. And
open your mouths. Don't yell at people for mugging your spot. Yell at the government to get their acts together and start looking into the science and looking into further research with tagging and all of that.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for voicing your opinion on that.
Oh, anytime.
And now we're gonna get into the fun stuff, getting into the fall run season. So Frank, for beginners out there or people who want to hit the surf after they watch this video and try to target some stripers, what are some of your go-to lures that you have inside?
Well, we carry pretty much everything. We got most of the main brands. We do carry a lot of custom plugs. My main go-to is my first plug is a Mag Darter.
Okay, yep.
That's my favorite. I love Uzori plugs. They swim great. They work great. I've caught a ton of fish on them. My other favorite is a dock.
Okay,
that dock, I have like, especially in the surf and on a boat. It works in both places.
Yeah.
I use a 9-inch on the boat, and I use the 7-inch off the surf, and I've gotten very well and gotten a lot of fish with them, so I've been very happy with them. But there's a lot of custom gliders and stuff I love. Like we just got in Greenhead's new gliders.
Yeah.
They're at a lower cost, same quality. It's something with some type of injection molding he's doing, which you can bring the price down on them.
Interesting.
And it has them both sides, the sizes, the 1 ounce and the 2 ounce.
Okay.
And all the colors. We just got them, and it's great to check out.
I'll have to take a look at those.
Yeah, they're pretty sharp. He did a good job. He did a really good job.
So that's like, obviously like the bunker fishing, spooks, gliders, stuff like that. But what about like when we have the sand eel bite? Because a lot of anglers.
That's gonna be the big thing.
Yeah, a lot of anglers don't know they're blitz fishermen. You know, they started to get into it and they had good seasons of just blitz fishing where you walk on the beach, you see fish in front of you. Sand eel, it's a lot different and it's a lot more difficult to hone into if you're stubborn.
Yeah, well, the big thing is when you're starting out, just don't follow the phone calls. Don't go out and research the beach. Take a look at the beach, read the beach. You're not sure what you're going to bring. We don't know what the fall's going to bring us. We have sand eels like we did last year, so you're looking at your Avas. Always use a teaser. That's a big thing. Teaser rigs are one of the best things I always use in the fall. I always have. And then we have peanuts that show up too. So then you got to look at your small bucktails.
Yep.
And your metal lifts. So you got to kind of like be diverse in what you carry in your bag. If you're not sure, you can always come to the shop. We can always help anybody out. You know, everybody here fishes.
Yeah.
We're all avid anglers and we love what we do. So we're more than happy to help anybody from the beginner to the expert. You know, we always have advice to try to help people out as much as we possibly. Because we want to see you catch fish.
Yeah,
it's the fun of it.
That's the goal of tackle shop owners. Is you guys are here to teach people and put them on fish. And I'm sure it's certainly rewarding when you have a newcomer come into your store, you help them out, and they come back or they give you a phone call or tag you in an Instagram post saying, "Thank you so much, you guys, for helping me. I got my first fish today."
That's the best part of the job.
Yeah.
It's just, especially when you see like a father-son or father-daughter go out for the first time, and you get them on fish, and you get that phone call. "Oh, we had a great day today," you know. But you know, and we always try to educate the people as much as possible too. Even with catch and release, and to properly release the fish, because that's a big issue too. We see that goes on.
Yeah.
And you know, it's such an awesome sport, and you meet some awesome people, and it's just enjoyable all the way around, and we love to share that with everybody.
Yeah, definitely helping people, catching fish, and hearing the reports and seeing the pictures is something that should fuel us all to keep the striped bass fishery alive.
Yeah.
So all those positive things, we don't want them thrown away. We don't want to lose the fishery we have, so that's why you should voice your opinions, have fun fishing, practice proper catch and relief, and the biggest thing, support your local tackle shops.
That's the big thing, support your local tackle shops. Stop buying online, come down to the shops.
Yeah.
Where else are you gonna get the service like this, right? You can come in, we're here to help you, we'll spool your reels up, we'll give you guidance on where to go. Amazon's not doing that.
No,
Dick's Sporting Goods is
Amazon,
not doing that.
Nope.
Your local shops, which are in trouble.
Yeah.
A lot of shops, this year's been a very tough year for a lot of the shops. It's been a struggle with all the regulation changes, especially bluefin tuna got shut down in the beginning of the season. It's scary what's going on. So you got to kind of look at the whole avenue of what's going on and say, you know, we're the ones who donate to your football teams. We donate to your local, or your sports, the PTAs, the local clubs all the time. We're the ones who donate to that. When the shops are gone and you don't get the personal service and advice from the people, you gotta really think about supporting your shops and helping them out. It's tough. It's a tough business.
It is.
I'm here 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I love it. If I didn't love this, I couldn't imagine owning a shop. It'd be, you know, but stuff being a fisherman, working all the time.
Yeah.
Everybody else is having a good time, enjoying themselves, catching tuna, catching the stripers off the beach. I surf, fish, I own a boat. I love it all. I go freshwater fishing. I just love being with a rod in my hand and being out there.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing.
And of course, you got to make it count. So every day matters.
Yeah.
So that's a wrap on this week's Open Boat. Thank you, Frank. Support
thank you.
Gabriel Tackle Co. support your small businesses. Stop in and see them. They're right here in Brick, New Jersey. And if you didn't see my seminar, maybe I might have another one with you guys, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe if I don't get kicked out, but
Nah, you won't get kicked out.
we'll see you guys around. See you in the surf. And if you stop in at Gabriel's and you get some tackle, make sure you tag them on Instagram if you get a nice fish on their stuff. So thank you, and we'll see you guys on next week's Open Boat.
In the famed waters of Panama awaits a fishing experience like no other. Tropic Star Lodge welcomes anglers to get in on world-famous fishing action. Plan your perfect trip today. Tropic Star Lodge, the ultimate in fishing adventures for more than 60 years.
So you remember Sharpie Gate from a few years ago, right? Funny. It's always good for a chuckle or two. So anyway, I'm at this big conference last week, sport fishing conference, when a friend shows me this chart that he created. He took two separate images from the recent striped bass addendum discussion. This is the public hearing and the full 64-page document. So he took page 3, this figure from page 3, and he laid it out, and then he took a picture from page 6, and he put those side to side. So I'm going to offer this to you as well. Full screen. Let's take a look at this. Figure 1 on the left shows, quote, Atlantic striped bass female spawning stock biomass in blue and recruitment in red, 1982 to 2023. Source 2024 stock assessment update. Now, we've all been looking at this page for months. It tracks 30, 40 years of the striped bass history, the one-year-old stripers in the recruitment chart, and the total spawning stock biomass at SSB. Now, you look at figure 3 on the right. This is the figure that was in the presentation, but ASMFC didn't put it together. This is, quote, female spawning stock biomass, SSB, the trajectory based on technical committee assumptions about 2025 to 2029 fishing mortality under status quo management and using the same low recruitment assumptions as the stock assessment. That shaded area indicates 95% confidence intervals. Now, in other words, what we're looking at here is if the ASMFC were, in fact, to vote status quo when they meet later on in October, we would still meet, according to their projections, we would still meet the 247 million pound spawning stock biomass target, except we might not hit it on time. What they're saying is we'll hit that target, but it's going to take us maybe 2-3 years later after the deadline, maybe 2032. So when you place these side by side, I thought it was pretty interesting. ASMFC's take on where SSB is today, where it was in the past, and where it will be in the next 10 years if the mortality rate stays the same as it is today. That's under the status quo. Honestly, if we were to look at the same SSB trajectory in a fishery like summer flounder or black sea bass, even porgies, we would be having a different debate today than we are with striped bass, which of course is a highly, highly emotional discussion and debate, a topic that causes people to really kind of hunker down. Mention black sea bass. That vote, by the way, is October 29th. Striped bass at the ASMFC, but referencing, black sea bass, that SSB where we are today is twice the SSB target that was originally put in place. So we're going to be seeing some we're supposed to be seeing some relaxed black sea bass regulations in 2026. But right now, as these seas settle down and folks start to get back out on the sea bass grounds, it's another terrific option, especially for folks who want to bring something into the table. We'll see how quickly things settle down with the bottom structure, with the bottom fish on these offshore grounds as things continue to clean up. But I spoke to a couple of folks this week to find out, what they were looking at. I spoke to Captain Bob Cope down in Cape May, full ahead sport fishing earlier this week. He says, I think that we'll catch them right out of the gate. But he's thinking 20 fathoms off of Cape May. Now, Cope typically starts in about 100 feet of water off of Cape May County when the black sea bass season begins. He likes to fish the bottom on the drift. So when the conditions are nice, he likes to drift over good bottom structure. But he did tell me that some of the offshore reef sites, Bass Barn Reef, Del Jersey Land Reef, those are the areas that are holding fish, and that's where he thinks the best action is going to be. Again, the differences between the northernmost portion of the Garden State and the southernmost are vastly different. You've really going to have to travel deep offshore to get on some of that good action. And Cope said It's going to be interesting to see if some of those black sea bass moved off the reefs because of that northeast swell and that big heave, but he does think they're going to be back on the structure again. I guess you could try Cape May or Wildwood, but again, Cope's impression is he's going to be heading deeper. So when we go to the opposite ends of the state, we go farther north of here out of Belmar. I spoke to Greg Hewitt of the Big Mohawk earlier this week. He believes sea bass won't be right off the beach in those nearshore wrecks, so he's going to head a little bit deeper. He's thinking Shark River Reef, but even some of that bottom structure a little farther off by this weekend. He says he thinks it could be tough, but the fishing for black sea bass was very good before the storm, and he and his crew, and I know his patrons, are looking forward to getting back on the grounds this Saturday. Now, when we turn our attention even farther offshore, here in the New Jersey, Delaware Bay region, it's very difficult, of course. There's no real intel to speak of for at least a week here. But I did hear from Matt Rumler. He said that he had a great day fishing for yellowfin just before the blow. He was with Captain Mark de Blasio on the Blue Runner sport fishing. They were supposed to do an overnighter, but Captain Mark said, you know, we don't have much time here. Let's just go out and stick them real quick. And despite a shark issue, they limited out on yellowfin 2 drifts near the triple wrecks. Again, sharks have been a problem so far this season, especially on those offshore grounds. We'll see if that continues. But if you're thinking about heading out from here, perhaps to the Bacardi, the triple wrecks region, on down the line from the Hudson along the edge through the Spencer to the Baltimore, a better forecast for Sunday. I say better. I don't say good. I don't say best. But it's certainly starting to get better. You want to keep an eye on the offshore weather. Maybe things turn around for Sunday, but start looking ahead towards the beginning of next week if you want to do those overnighters or you want to do some kind of quick hitter to see if you can't find some of those yellowfin. We tend to forget about the offshore action in October, well into November. But the yellowfin and swordfish bite is often very good. Longfin a lot of times as well. Can be very productive as we head into November, even with those tighter windows. That said, there are several headboats at the Jersey Shore making the run east through November looking for some of those yellowfin. You've got the Gambler, you've got the Big Jamaica here. You've also got the Miss Barnegat Light. They're all scheduling trips all the way into November, so you do have that opportunity if you laid your boat up before the storm. Then in November, of course, then we get that black sea bass bag that goes from 10 fish to 15 fish. And of course, tog goes to 5 fish as of November 16th. But don't forget about terra firma tog fishing right now along the canals, the bulkheads, the jetties, because those togs should still be hungry along the bridge structure as well, whether you're walking along and dropping a tog jig, or if you've still got the center console and you want to go out and hit some of that structure this week. I did hear from Pedro Ildefonso showing off again, out fishing dad someplace in the back bays looking for some of those tog. Back to that weekly edition of the Fisherman magazine for a moment, because we're going to take a look inside. So take that digital edition with Hudson on the cover, go inside to the table of contents. We do this every week all the way through November to tell you how to get her done on a weekly basis. We're wrapping up the weekly edition calendar at this point, of course, which means that, well, when I don't have those digital weeklies, Jimmy gets a lot more time along the beaches in November. And of course, don't forget, it's crunch time here for those of you who are fishing the Dreamboat Fishing Challenge and the Coastal Kayak Clash.
We have 2 new entries this week in the Fisherman's Dream Boat Fishing Challenge. We start off with Long Island subscriber Joseph Lacossi of Ridge, New York, placing his fish on the board. It's a big bluefish weighing in at 20.31 pounds at Miller Place Bait and Tackle, which earns him the first place in the bluefish category, which also gets him on the leaderboard. Back again this week is New England subscriber Gregory Brennan of Wakefield, Rhode Island, replacing his last week's entry with another blackfish weighing in at 7.59 pounds, and that was weighed in at Quaker Lane Bait and Tackle. The leaderboard now looks like this. Thomas Luciano still in first with 20 points. Second goes to Joseph Lacossi with 16 points. And tied with Joseph is Rashawn Williams with 16 points. There were no new entries in this week's Coastal Kayak Clash due to the weather, probably. Rothanong's in first with 6 points. Dustin Stevens got 6 points. And Bob Wagner in third with 5 points.
For more than 20 years, Anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites.
Introducing the Yak Attack Sandrig Surf Cart, the ultimate beach hauler for serious anglers. Glide effortlessly over soft sand with wide balloon wheels and lightweight, corrosion-resistant construction that's completely customizable with options. Whether it's rods, coolers, or tackle, haul it all with ease. Built by Surf Fisherman and engineered by Yak Attack.
So anyway, back to the table of contents on the surf front this week. Might be time to start thinking about putting the wetsuit away. Our open beaches here at the Jersey Shore, it's a lot of waders. But Dave Anderson has a good feature in there about that. I mentioned inshore togging. Matt Broderick has a nice feature in there, tog rigs versus jigs. We've got an end of the season fluke gallery, a lot of reader responses and photos. And there on page 20, late October into November tips on big largemouth with Bruce Litton's freshwater column chatterbaits for fall largemouth. For more on the freshwater side of things, let's head west for a full rundown with my friend George Schauer, the Pocono Outdoors Guy.
Fish might be getting an appetite finally, so we'll see what that brings for us. You know, a couple guys checked in pre-storm, and they were getting on some great fish right before the storm hit. We had Chris Pereira. Well, he was out in Merrill Creek finding some really nice smallmouth, but the big story is when he was over at Oxford Furnace, he got a giant muskie over there, so some great work there, Chris. Just a hint, you and I are going to have to do a little bit of fishing together, Chris, if we want to catch muskie like that. Also, we had Jen check in. Well, he was over the Passaic River. He was getting some great smallmouth and a bonus crappie as well. You know, fall is the best time for some of those crappie. They really school up, and if you can get on one, you can usually get on a whole bunch, either for the fry pan or just for fun. But some good crappie fishing this time of year. We've been talking about as the cool weather sets in, we're getting, you know, the muskie, the pike, the walleye, the smallmouth. Stripers are still going strong, whether you're fishing Beltsville or Wallen Pompack. Lots of great activity, guys. Let's get back at it this week and see if we can get back on these fish. Don't forget to drop us a note and tell us what you're out targeting for this weekend. From Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors Guy.
From the calendar of events, in this week's Digital Weekly Edition, you'll also find it in the October Monthly Edition. If you want to get out and do some of that freshwater action that George talked about, you never got around to getting your freshwater fishing license or your trout stamp in New Jersey, have no fear. You can sample all those great sweetwater offerings this Saturday, absolutely free. Saturday, October 18th is New Jersey's Free Fishing Day. No badge, no problem. Don't worry about it. For those up in North Jersey, Saturday is the Staten Island Tuna Club's Bobby Tosto Blackfish Tournament. Obviously, the guys out of Staten Island, around Brooklyn and Manhattan, up around Bayonne, folks stopping up the Bayonne Bait and Tackle, but all along the Raritan Bay Shore as well. If you want to get in on that tournament this Saturday, you can call Angelo Pignatoro, 917-440-6959. Of course, you could always visit situnaclub.com. Don't forget, Raritan Bay, next week, October 24th to 26th, it's the Highmarsh Striper Club's Bob Kaminsky Memorial 40-hour catch, picture, and release striper tournament. The captain's meeting is 6 p.m. on October 24th. That's at the American Legion, post 338 in Leonardo. The cost is $200 per boat or kayak. For all the details on that big 40-hour striped bass catch and release classic, you can go to high-mar.com. And again, folks, they've been asking me, when's that ASMFC striper decision? The ASMFC meets at the end of October. The striper decision is going to be on Wednesday, October 29th. That's when the vote will happen. I'm hoping to get down there to Dewey Beach, Delaware for that meeting. I would tell you too, the day prior, Tuesday, October 29th, another potentially impactful discussion will be taking place, and that's on Atlantic menhaden. I've seen a lot of posts recently about the menhaden overharvest. We'll find out all the details on that on Tuesday, October 28th. and they'll be discussing bunker management or mismanagement, as the case may be. You can get all the details on that meeting at asmfc.org. Quite the change here along my home stretch here in Northern Ocean County. One nor'easter will do it. A lot smaller beach, but my guess is a lot deeper water. Better structure here. I'm looking forward to the striper run getting underway, and I think in the northern part of the Garden State, I kind of really think that Saturday is go time. We've already had those first initial rushes of fish in Sandy Hook right before the storm. As that storm pushes these fish back here, as that bait starts piling up in the back, west winds, bait starts moving out the inlets, the fish are there waiting for them, lock it in. Sometime Saturday, somebody's going to be getting into some good striper fishing, and I hope possibly it's you or me. See you again next week right here at thefisherman.com.